lost people? I don't think so. Okay, we'll get started. Welcome one, welcome all to the GDG launch night for semester 2. Thank you all for coming. Now, how many of you came from Kiwi Jam? Hands up. I mean, kind of. All right, how many of you just found us online? All right, just a few people. That's always great to see. And how many of you were past members? Yeah, it's good to see returning members. All right, we'll launch into it then. So, as some of you might know, GDG is a uni club founded in 2017 with the mission of, making games. We've done a lot of events in the past, and this semester we've done a lot more, right? And we've been slowly building up towards going from like small workshops and a few projects to doing a lot of game jams, a lot of different games, and even some showcase events. It's been a really great time to have so many different people join us throughout the years, and also just, make a variety of different games. Yeah. So, we have a motto, which is dream, learn, create. So what we focus on is, thinking of a few small game ideas, learning how to make those games, and obviously creating those games. As you might have done in Kiwi Jam, like a 48-hour jam, you try to make a game within a very small amount of time and try to learn a lot of different things while trying to make something very interesting with the theme. And that's kind of what we do with our events throughout the year. So yeah, if you're ever I'm guessing everyone here wants to make a game, yes? Yep. So, it can be a little overwhelming, but we try to make sure that, we encourage you to be scrappy. We encourage you to admit failure. We encourage you to just accept that game dev is hard, but it's also very it's very approachable, and it's very easy to do once you actually get into the groove of it. So yeah, and also GDG is a space for meeting people, sharing your games, and playing. So every semester we try to do what is called a showcase night, where you show off your games to a bunch of people. We try to get a lab room like this. If you saw in the announcement earlier, we were actually situated in a different room, but that's whatever. And you guys all have a platform to show off your games, whether it's past projects or projects from our GDG jams. It's also a great place to find other fellow-minded devs, from total beginners, which a lot of you might be, to complete experts who have been in the industry for years, right? Or even just, been working on games for however long. So this is a space for everyone to come along to and enjoy making games. So yeah, in game dev, our club tries to focus on 5 different aspects of it. We have music and SFX, we have writing and narration, we have art, VFX, and ideation, we have coding and engine use, which might be the majority of you, considering you might all be comp sci or engineering, and we also have game design and playtesting. So we try to sometimes offer tutorials on these, but we encourage everyone of all these different sects to come along to our club and make a game with us. I myself am an artist, but a lot of our execs are actually coders, and we even had a few musicians and writers along for the ride, and it's always great to see them. Yeah. Game dev also, we try to encourage every team, when you're working on a game, to have a few of those skills. You don't need to have all of them, but the more the better. It's always nice to also, find novel intersections between skills. I'm mostly an artist, right? But I started learning how to do shaders just because I was it would be good to learn how to use OpenGL. And of course, teamwork is key. So we are a club that tries to encourage you all to work in teams to make your games, and also find other like-minded people to make the games. Yeah. So, some past games from our GDG jams. So, on the left, we have Play Crusade, made by our very own Ben over there. Woo! Now, it was a Horde Swarmer, am I correct?
Yeah, Horde Storm game.
Horde Swarm game, yep. Where you had to fight waves of enemies and slowly build up upgrades to, just get better and defeat more and more waves of enemies. It's a typical Swarmer type. And on the right, we also have Robofight, made by our very own Noah right there.
Oh yeah, that's I want to say something else.
I forgot the name. It was a pretty similar premise where it's just a Swarmer game, but in 3D, and you also have to go through different mazes of areas to find the enemies and kill them. So, that's like 2 of the games of like probably the 20 different games that we've made, right? Like over the years, more than that. This is my very own baby, Snong. This was made in a... This was made in 2022 when I basically joined the club for the first time. It's made with like 5 other people, and I was like the main artist, so I did all pixel art, and then I just found like a nice shader to apply, and it's basically just, Snake and Pong fused together to make Snong. I think only 5 people have defeated this game. So, you can make difficult games, or you can make very easy games that take 3 minutes to finish.
Depending on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. We also have some games from Kiwi Jam because that is what we did literally just yesterday. This is from the recent Kiwi Jam 2024. It's a late submission called Sea Day, or House Chore Dungeon, where basically you just play as a kid who's trying to lure all these little trash bags to like a gaping monster who will gaping trash can who will eat all the trash, and try not to die because you have like 3 hearts. The art style is really sick. And obviously, the level is incredibly unfinished because you made it in 48 hours. But games like these were made in like a span of a month to 2 months, so you have a bit more time to like refine it and do a better job, and also juggle it with like all your coursework and stuff. We also have our actually game, Frightgeist, which is meant to be a game where you haunt different objects around the room and try to scare away like real estate agents from like taking over your house as a ghost. Issue is we had this really cool concept, and by the end of the jam, none of us knew how to use Godot except for me, so it looks beautiful, right? Yeah. So in game jams, sometimes you'll have flops, sometimes you'll have W's, like it happens. And we all accept all of that. Like, I'm still really proud of this game because we still like learned an engine and we still made a game at the end of it, right? Yeah. And it's always like a learning opportunity to see what skills you can learn. Like, I never made isometric art, and this was the first time I'd done that, and I enjoyed doing that. Yeah. So yeah, we have way more games on our itch.io page. It's on our link tree, if you have all the cards or, our socials, you find it there. You can also just scan this. We have a whole list of games, and we will try to add your games if you want us to add it there. And we will also add games from just our general game jams. So check them out. And of course, join our Discord. That is the main place where we all like talk about our stuff, where we all converse and find teams or talk about different topics that we like, or even like post game dev challenges and tutorials and whatnot. You can also show off your work in progresses, and also keep up to date with our events alongside our Instagram. So yeah, please feel free to join the Discord. We took a lot of time to take care of it. And yes, so this is our timeline. So this semester, it's a bit more casual. We're like a bit more loose with like how we're doing it. Of course, tonight is the launch night in week 2. But next week, which is next Monday, you will all be starting the second jam of our club. So, come along to that at 6 o'clock as usual. We're trying to make you do a game jam in 2 months, and we'll give you a new theme, we'll give you a few modifiers. It's like Kiwi Jam, but way more drawn out. And by the end of it, in week 8, you will be showing off your games to the public, and maybe even voting for them. And even in week 9, we will potentially have some awards for you. So get ready for that. Get excited for that. That is our biggest event. And throughout the semester, we will try to like sprinkle in some other events, and also tell you about like other events that are going on. Like there are showcases happening in the mid-sem break. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, our biggest event, like I said, was GDG Jam. Where you basically learn the structure of the jam, and this is just a timeline of making a game. You form a team with everyone over here. You get a theme to get ideas on what to make a game on. You propose your ideas to everyone to get some members, and you make a game within 2 months, from week 3 to week 8 to 9, which is what it was set here. It's open to all skill levels, so you do not need to be like a good game dev or even know how to do something to join it. I never knew how to make a game when I joined the club, but I still managed to make Snog and everything else, so it's very acceptable. And even if you're like a seasoned pro, join this. It's a pretty fun opportunity. So yeah, it's starting next week Monday. I will reiterate that it is starting next week Monday. Come along to that. We also have our showcase nights. So like I was saying, that is open to literally everyone to show off their games. We have like a submission form that we released later, closer to the night for that. Where you can show off your games, including the GDG Jam games and like personal projects, and also updated versions of games that you've been working on. So if you're like working on your Kiwi Jam games, like from like this year or even like previous year, show it off here. And also just play each other's games. It's a very fun opportunity, and also celebrate because we also do have food for you guys to just enjoy and chat with each other, and it's great. We also do expo showcases. So alongside like our in-house showcase night, we also try to show off our games at different events. This is us at Overload. That was very fun. We've done it for 2 years now. We always try to go to Indie Game Showcase. That's one of the biggest like indie game festivals happening in New Zealand / Auckland. And sometimes we try to show off at Armageddon. It's very busy. It's very hectic. It is close to like the end of the semester / exams, but it's a pretty fun opportunity. So we try to like secure a slot for you guys to show off your games. And if you want to learn more about that, just sign up to our showcase role, or we will just notify you about it on our Discord. Of course, we have other game dev events happening throughout the year. At the start of March, at mid-March, we had Wireframe, which was like a conference of like different game devs coming together to talk about the game dev processes happening at Media Design School. We have NZGDC, which is happening in October this year, but if you want to go along to that, meet a lot more devs, even meet our speaker, again there, it's a great opportunity. And yeah, if you want to take part in Global Game Jam or Indie Game Showcase, that's also pretty good. Say hi to our council. I am the president. Vice President and Secretary is over there with Noah. We have a treasurer, Joshi, also taking pictures in the back. We have a jam officer, Ben, who was saying about his game earlier. Our website manager, Alex, is not here. And also, most of us are mentors, so we will all try to teach you about game jams and game dev stuff. And we also just have some general execs who just tag along for the ride. If you want to be part of our council, it's a pretty chill thing. Feel free to. We would love to have you on board. We are always looking for people who can potentially teach level design. We're thinking of doing a workshop for that in 2 weeks' time. Or even about narration. If you're good at storytelling, or if you're good at designing a level, that's always pretty great. If you're good at making art for the club, just promotional stuff and posters and art of our mascots, that would be very appreciated. We also need someone to take care of our awards. We print awards for our game jams at the end of the sem. So it would be nice to have someone who can take care of that every semester. And we also have these other roles. So if you can edit videos, maybe once a week, these recordings that we do for our club, it'd be pretty great. Also making trailers and montages. If you want to just be a marketing officer, just show off our stuff on social media, that would be appreciated. But also if you just want to be a casual exec, it's all here. So if you want to do any of that, say hi to me. I would very much appreciate it. It's a pretty casual role, but the more the merrier. And yeah, we will now allow our speaker to come on stage. Everyone say hi to Noah.
Thank you. Oh, careful. Sorry.
That's all right.
Hello, everyone. Let's get started. I'm Miller, and I'm a gameplay programmer. At the moment, I'm employed at Weta Workshop, mainly known for their film stuff. Do all sorts of films from recent Marvel collaborations, but I guess Weta Workshop rose to fame with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They did all the costumes and props for that. And then a little known venture that started, I want to say almost 10 years ago, is game development. And I'm one of those gameplay engineers, although I haven't been at the studio for that long. My journey actually started here at the University of Auckland, and today I'm going to talk to you about that and sort of the process of how I became a gameplay engineer at Weta Workshop. So this is a little obligatory timeline as these things normally have. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a very long time ago, in March 1989. And I moved to New Zealand, here to Auckland initially in December 2002. I started my Bachelor of Science in March 2007. My major was actually psychology, but I took a number of papers throughout the sciences. I did a lot of papers in statistics, not enough for a double major, but pretty close. I did a little bit of computer science, and I also did the logic and computation philosophy papers that are now part of the computer science curriculum, I should say. So I had a pretty wide range of interests and papers that I took while I was doing my bachelor degree. In December 2009, I graduated with a BSc. And I decided that it would be a really fantastic idea to do postgrad, not really knowing where I wanted to take my career at the time. So I call this the start of the clown years, hence the picture. So purely just because it sounded like fun, I did postgrad degrees in psychology as well. In 2010, so that same year, I graduated with a Bachelor of Science Honours. That was my supervisor at the time, Michael Davison. That was his office in the Human Sciences building, all the way back over there before psychology moved here. And the continuation of the clown years is that I did a PhD starting in 2011, again in psychology under the supervision of Michael Davison. And in June 2014, I graduated with a PhD. Or not graduated, but I finished, and then I graduated the following year, in the next available ceremony. And then following the clown years began like a period of trial and error where, like I said before, I wasn't really sure where I was taking my career. I thought that I wanted to be an academic, but on reflection, I did all those postgraduate studies because it sounded interesting to me at the time, and I wasn't really thinking about my career, really. So during the period of June 2014 to November 2016, I got a number of jobs in all sorts of different industries. I started as a data analyst for a company that's no longer around. Their major clients were really large retailers such as Foodstuffs, The Warehouse, Fonterra, and Lime Brewery. And I was basically doing purchasing consumer behavior analysis. Honestly, not super exciting. I worked in video game sales for a little bit. So I worked at a video game distribution company for a few months. And then I started software development I started working for a software development company as a project manager initially, and this was in Melbourne. And then that company went out of business, so I came back to New Zealand, and out of pure luck, I'm not gonna lie to you, it wasn't a calculated move or anything. Out of pure luck, I got a production job at a studio called Scarlet City Studios, game development studio called Scarlet City Studios, based here in Auckland. And this is where my game dev journey began. I knew nothing of game development at the time. I had, been playing games my entire life at that point, and these guys were desperate for a producer. So here I showed up at the right time, to be honest. I did that for I was at Scarlet City Studios as a producer for about a year and a bit, and then they went out of business, as a lot of indie studios do. And then after that, I got a number of other production jobs until I landed at Weta Workshop. And I say we have liftoff because up until that point, I had been experiencing the indie life with not a lot of job security. There was, the first studio, like I said, that I was a part of went out of business, and then I jumped around different studios, trying to really take off my game dev career. And then when I landed at Weta Workshop, it was a really stable job that had a big pipeline of work, so I knew that I was going to be there for a while. And it was at the time manned by a lot of people that were true industry veterans. At the time we had ex-EA, ex-Gameloft people working in the studio, so I learned a lot from the people that were around at the time. And these are some of the projects that we worked on during that period of time of the studio. We mainly focused at the time, we had a contract with a US company called Magic Leap. They were the original Apple Vision. They were a augmented reality headset company. They're still around, but they just don't do consumer-facing stuff anymore. They mainly focus on enterprise. But while they were focusing on consumer products, these were some of the things that we released or almost released for the Magic Leap. So you can see this guy over here wearing a Magic Leap headset. The initial title was Dr. Grodboard's Invaders, and here's a screenshot of what the game looked like. Basically, using that headset, you scanned your room, and then various portals were positioned in your room, and through these portals, these robots emerged, and then you would have to shoot them down. And these guys interacted with the furniture in your room, so they would like jump over coffee tables or like duck around your sofa and stuff like that. We then moved on to a project called Dr. Grodboard's Grod Battle, which was a combination of pardon me, what Invaders was, so shooty shooty bang bang, and a more sandboxy experience, which was a tea party. So you would first select your character, and you would have the mask of that character, and then you would go into this high tea party setting, and then you would pour each other tea, and then all that, there were like alien motif cupcakes and cakes and all kinds of stuff that made really fun noises when you threw them on the floor. And then at one point, anyone could initiate a Grod battle, and then you would enter the shooty bang bang mode. We also had a much smaller game called Dr. Grodboard's Boosters, in which you controlled a rocket ship with the handheld thing that the headset came with, and you collected these goblins around the room that you were in. And then, so I initially joined Weta Workshop as a producer, and in December, so about a year and a bit after, I transitioned into programming, and I've been doing that ever since. This is the title that I've been working on since transitioning into programming, called Tales of the Shire, and hopefully I can play you the trailer.
There are many tales of Middle-earth, tales of courage and brave deeds in dark times. But that is not our story. For this is one of new beginnings. are our tales of the Shire. Hobbits really are amazing creatures.
So yeah, like I said, I've been working on this project since I moved into programming at the end of 2020. We're pretty close to releasing this project. We're aiming for sometime this year, maybe the holidays. There's no official launch day attached to it. If you are inclined, you can wishlist Tales of the Shire. On all these platforms currently have a storefront. We have announced the Switch as well, but it doesn't have a storefront. So keep an eye out on our socials for that link later on. So to summarize, kind of what I've been talking to you guys about so far, or what I've been alluding to, is that you have a normal career, which is like a linear progression from A to B, university to job. And then you have my career, which is whatever this mess is. And so, I'd like to finish off with some insights from the journey that I've taken to get to where I am now. And these insights are mostly targeted to people that are curious about potentially working in the industry, not so much if you kind of want to do it as a hobby. So the first thing is that your career path doesn't have to be linear at all. As you saw, I jumped around quite a bit until I finally landed on game development, and I thought to myself, hey, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I've been a gamer for my entire life, and now I want to support the gamer experience by making games myself. And that realization came with, I guess, a lot of guilt and shame, in that we are reared to think, oh, you go to university for the thing that you're going to do for the rest of your life. And there's not a lot of discourse, or at least there wasn't at the time that I did my degrees, about changing your mind and being okay with that. So definitely, if you're in a degree for something that is not related to game development at all, and you're like, oh, I want to do game development now, that's totally okay. Your career can still take you into game development. Relating to that is that if you are, like I found myself in a career that looks completely different to game development, and you want to go into game development, market your transferable skills. Pardon me. So when I first started and trying to get a job in game development, or even like my first couple of jobs in game development, when I didn't have a lot of experience, my CV was highlighted some of the skills that I gained throughout my degree, such as disseminating a lot of information through research and communicating that in the simplest way possible to achieve a goal. And how that helped me in production at the time is that I would have to scan through game design documents, pitches, and a whole bunch of documentation that engineers and artists never read, and I would have to disseminate that in the simplest way possible into a task backlog that anyone, even those time-starved people, could look at a glance and know exactly what they needed to do by the end of the week. So that's kind of how I focus my transition into game development to begin with, and then eventually I built enough experience where now I can turn around to a mate and be like, hey, do you have a job at your studio? Great, let's get talking. Speaking of which, network and leverage your connections. As I was alluding to, now with nearly 8 years of game development experience, I know enough people in the industry where I can literally just have a casual conversation with somebody at some studio and say, hey, I'm interested in pursuing a role here. What do you have open? And, you know, I've landed my last, I've landed the job at Weta Workshop that way, and the job prior to that, I landed that way as well. So definitely really important to network and just keep in touch with your industry connections where you can make them. The next insight is developing a tailored portfolio, and this is mainly applicable if you're a creator of some sort in the game dev kind of pipeline, so artists, programmers, game designers, and so on and so forth. It's great that you guys make games, but you don't definitely have to make an entire game. I honestly have never made an entire game in my spare time because I don't have the attention span to do that all the time. I have 2 young kids. Instead, what I do, because I am a systems-orientated or systems gameplay programmer, I focus on tech demos. So I've done tech demos for a cinematic system. I've done tech demos for a camera system. That's what my portfolio consists of. I don't have full games. Although it is really great to have full games. I guess your portfolio, I would say, needs to reflect the kind of job or kind of niche that you want to put yourself into. If you want to be more of a generalist, then a full game is really helpful for you to get experience in every aspect of the game development pipeline. But if you, like me, want to be a specialist engineer, my specialization is AI programming, I would say just focus on tech demos of that thing that you want to get really good at. And the last thing is go indie. I've been in small studios pretty much up until partway through the Weta Workshop tenure. The Weta Workshop studio was initially big. We were 55 at the time that I joined, and then the pandemic happened and we were 18, and then Tales of the Shire came along, and we've just recently built back up to 40. So the bulk of my experience is in small to medium-ish studios. And the great thing about indie studios, which some might see as a deterrent, is that it's easier to get a job because they're very risky, very poor job security, to be frank, because it is a bit of a gamble if you could get funding to pursue the indie title, and even if you do get funding to pursue the indie title, it is a gamble in terms of how well the game does once it's launched, whether you'll get continued funding to support the team. So it's easier to get a job because not a lot of people are in a financial position to take that risk, which is totally fair. And then for the most part, indie studios don't have the resources to hire a lot of people. And so what you end up seeing is that a generalist gameplay programmer in an indie studio will be a true generalist gameplay programmer. They'll do absolutely everything. Whereas in medium to larger studios, you start falling into niches. Like I've only just recently, even though my title is still gameplay programmer and I'm on paper still a generalist, I am the go-to person for AI programmer. But that's kind of like, you know, between my team, it is understood that I take over those features. And the great thing about, another great thing about indie games, which again could also be, indie studios I should say, could also be seen as a deterrent, is that compared to more established studios, indie studios for the most part tend to require less experience of their applicants. So it is easier for inexperienced or graduate game devs to get a job there. But again, it does come with a certain level of risk. With that said, it is a really tough job market out there in New Zealand game dev, or even overseas. Like, I think the stat from last year is that about 10,000 people lost their jobs in the industry worldwide last year. And it looks like 2024 is keeping up with that trend. These are some insights from NZGDA, so the New Zealand Game Developers Association. There are currently in 2023, so this starts from last year, just over 1,100 full-time employees working in game dev here in New Zealand, and 36 new jobs were created, so not a lot of jobs. Most jobs are available in art, followed by programming. And very few studios, so only about 25% hire graduates or juniors. But speaking of my big defense of indies, or encouragement for you guys to go seek indies opportunities, it is an awesome time to go independent. So if you're that way inclined and you can like band together and get an awesome team going, there are a lot of funding opportunities, or a few funding opportunities available for you to pursue game development as a career. Code is now available nationwide. They were initially available only in Dunedin, and they offer funding between $10,000 to $250,000 for various stages of a project. So you can get $10,000 for a prototype, and then $250,000 for like a more advanced game. The New Zealand Film Commission, every now and then they do this thing called the Interactive Development Fund, and it is there to fund prototype stage projects. I went to their website the other day and I couldn't see the Interactive Development Fund, but I was a recipient of it, so I can tell you that at one point it existed. And the Kiwi Game Starter offers funding for 2 games each year. It's a competition, and you have to create like a business case for your game, basically pitch your game to a panel of judges in order to get funding. That's all I have. Here are some useful resources if you want to know more about the New Zealand game dev, picture. That's the association over there. Addie mentioned NZGDC, so the New Zealand Game Developers Conference, which is happening in Wellington in October, 17th to 18th of October. I'll be speaking there, so if you do happen to be in Wellington, please say hi. Websites for funding opportunities that I mentioned. Zoomia is a really great job board. I used it a bit, both to publish jobs that I was hiring for, and also to, look at what's out there. And if you want to connect with game developers outside of the university, there's a meetup group called Auckland Makes Games. Josh, the organizer, tries incredibly hard to make it happen at least once a month. So that's really great. And if you want to get in touch or whatever, that's my email address there. Cool. That's it.
All right, if you want to ask some questions, feel free to right now. We're going to do like a 10-minute Q&A, so go for it. Anyone else?
Yeah. Yes.
May I ask, what does your typical workday look like?
Yeah. A typical work day is, I'm going to do the cliche, no 2 days look the same, but they really don't. But I would start off my day with, I'll take a step back. At the studio that I'm at Weta Workshop, we employ a software development methodology called Agile. It's the buzzword, everyone does it. It sucks ass, but everyone does it. We start off the day with a stand-up, so it's like a 15-minute check-in, and then you tell your producer, I'm doing this, it's going great. It's not, it's going great. And then I look at my task list, which has been curated by my lead, and I grab the highest priority ticket, and I do it. Sometimes, depending on the task, I might be doing that for a few days, like if I'm working on a big system or a complex refactor or a really gnarly bug, that's what I'm doing for a few days. But if I chip away at that task very quickly, I just grab the next thing on the list and off I go. I'm thankfully rarely in meetings. My lead does a really good job at shielding us from an excessive amount of meetings. But you know, if you work in other disciplines, especially game design or narrative design, sounds like the majority of your day is meetings. Yep. Hello.
Just more of a technical question. So all these links and such that you've got on the PowerPoint here, are they going to be shared on some, is it going to be, are we going to be able to access this PowerPoint so we can click on these links and such? Or?
Yes. We can. We'll
more technical
Put
questions.
yours
we'll post it.
Yeah, great.
Sure.
All right,
Yes. Yes, hello.
So, what skill do you think is the most valuable when you are transitioning from your degree to your current career? Because I'm taking the commerce major myself, and I feel useless when I'm in a game jam. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I've hired for junior roles when I was a producer, and from experience, a application that has some sort of portfolio attached to it gets shortlisted more often than an application that doesn't have a portfolio attached to it. So what Eddie is organizing for you guys is doing lots of game jams and collaborating and working together to produce an actual game. Put it in your portfolio, even if, say, you're a coder and it is spaghetti garbage. You made a game. That's way more than a lot of people can say, to be honest. Like I said, I've never finished a game in my spare time, so you will be doing better than me. Yeah. Yes, hello.
We were talking about that you take more of a generalist role, and that on paper that yours doesn't reflect the work that you do. I was just wondering, how does that really translate to how you feel about doing the workload that you have versus at the end of the day when you look at the paperwork, how does the company help you or treat you that way, like in terms of pay or benefits or?
It really depends on the studio. So all of us at Weta Workshop are generalists because, like I said, we were initially 55 and then we were 18 and then we started growing back up. And during that second period of growth, like when we started growing back up after the pandemic, Weta Workshop wasn't sure whether Tales of the Shire was going to get the funding to go into full production. So it really couldn't afford to hire specialist programmers. Like it couldn't afford to hire a dedicated AI engineer and a dedicated physics engineer and so on and so forth. So we all had to do everything in the hopes of getting funding to see the project through. And now that we've got funding and that we've got relationships with publishers, and it sounds like we won't really need to worry about funding for our next few projects, we can start having conversations with our lead, with the programming lead, about specializing. I've had that conversation with my lead, and it's something that he's titillated about. Like I said to him, I only really want to do AI programming. Everything else is a little bit boring for me. And he's like, yeah, maybe in the next few projects. So it really depends on the studio. Because Weta Workshop hires generalist programmers, it hasn't really affected my pay or my career progression at all.
You mentioned when you're working for indie studios, it's like not very secure, like there's poor job security. What were specifically the negative impacts of that lack of job security?
It's stressful. Like when Scarlet City Studios went under, it was sad. Like I'd grown pretty close to the team. And that was my second experience of having a job pulled out from under me. And you got bills to pay, so you get stressed about where the money is going to come from. And at the time, the studio managers were like, "Oh, we'll give you a few months to find new jobs," and then whatever. But then they turned around. They were like, "JK, we're closing next month." So it's really stressful. And if you can tolerate that stress and be organized and sort of, make it so that towards like a few months before the end of your contract, if you're doing contract work for indie studios, you're starting job hunting or seeking your next contract, and if that kind of lifestyle is okay with you, then probably that stress isn't gonna be affecting you. But for me, not having that permanent role because I wanted to buy a house and be financially secure for my family, it was really stressful. Yes.
So do you have any advice on how to network and make connections?
NZGDC has now a networking event. It's like a speed dating type thing where you talk to people from all sorts of different studios, and you only get like a couple of minutes to do it, and then you switch to the next person. It's a tough one because I'm not very good at it. I only really have a network because I'm already working in game dev and I've made friends in the industry. But coming along to Auckland Makes Games, like I said, the organizer, I don't think I said it actually, the organizer is the tech lead for Floating Rock Games. It's one of the biggest studios here in Auckland. And there's a variety of people that have jobs in the industry that go to that meetup. So yeah, that would be a good place to start.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a bit specific, but do you find with like story writers, essentially people who write the narrative and such within the game, do you find they tend to be contract workers, or do you guys hire them as like actual full-timers?
We have full-timers. In fact, for Tales of the Shire, we have a permanent Tolkien expert, like law master, in our team. That's how committed we are to delivering an experience true to the world building that Tolkien did. We've also had we also have contractors in our narrative team, but because Lord of the Rings or the general works of Tolkien is so central to the Weta Workshop history, dating back to the prop making for the trilogy, the film trilogy, the lore master role was vital, and so it was a permanent hire. Yes.
With essentially a full-time hire, essentially.
Yeah. Part of the reason is that we may want to do more Lord of the Rings inspired games, so their skill set will continue to be really helpful to us, whereas the other people in the narrative team are here just to deliver this game, and may not potentially be needed for future games. Yes.
All right, this is a bit of a tricky question, so you don't have to like advocate for everyone, but how do you feel about the current industry for new developers to get into it, considering it's a bit hard for young developers to break in?
It's pretty tough, honestly, but it's pretty tough because of the number of layoffs that are happening in the industry worldwide. With that said, there still continues to be a lot of opportunities in indie game development at the cost of job security potentially. And there are opportunities in big studios, don't get me wrong. What you'll find, the people that are the target of redundancies in the industry at the moment are experienced workers. And what ends up, this can be a rant about late stage capitalism, but what's happening at the moment, or what seems to be happening at the moment, is that the experienced, highly paid people are being laid off, and then the juniors stay behind. So if you're a junior or somebody that's just starting in the industry, you might find yourself the target of exploitation, which is really bad. The industry already has a really bad rep for crunching and doing lots of hard hours. And I can tell you that even in New Zealand, that is true, that is the case. I've worked 16-hour days for many, many months on end. It's not a lot of fun. But if you're really passionate about working in the industry, and to be fair, it is a great industry to work in for, people are just a little bit weird and, funky. It's an amazing industry to work in. If you can bear the brunt of that initial hit, if you have a couple of years of experience in your pocket, you'll be cruising along. And that's been my experience. I just had to bear the initial hit of getting in, and then once I've had the experience and the industry connections, it's been a lot smoother.
All right, we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions, so you guys.
Yes.
Do you have any advice on how to go about learning AI programming?
Learning programming?
AI programming.
It really depends. So I did the whole YouTube tutorial thing. I started in Unity with Brackies back in the day. He has since retired, but all his videos are up there, and it's still a great resource. Highly recommend. Since then, I've jumped into Godot. I've made my own lightweight engine in C++ using SDL and this other library called Entity. I've also taken a poke at Unreal. I very quickly closed Unreal because it's just way too scary, and I don't like visual programming. But there's the entirety of YouTube available for you, and it is a great resource. The thing that I guess you don't I didn't realize until several years have passed into my programming career is that what you ship or what you show to the public is an EXE. Nobody gets to see under the hood, right? So if it's a disaster of a spaghetti mess, nobody will know. And that allows you, I guess, to be a little bit more compassionate and forgiving of where your skill set is at the time, and then just realize that, as long as people are playing something, you're doing it. Yeah.
All right, yeah, go. I think you want to push.
I was going to maybe ask about like what the portfolios look like. As you mentioned before, if you go into the job interview with a portfolio and you get higher chances and that sort of stuff. Curious as to what do they normally say when it comes to the portfolios? Like, how's the program for this one? Do you guys have to explain the game then? How much the program is?
For programming, we're mainly interested in your process, and I've been part of artist interviews as well, where this has applied to. We're mainly interested in people's process. No matter the discipline that you're in, your brief is usually like this flowery paragraph coming from a producer or some exec saying, we want the player to feel this cozy, liberating, enthralling, immersive, all those buzzwords. And then what you as a game developer, artist, or programmer, or whatever, you got to interpret that and break it down into logical steps that will take you from to the end product that you want to achieve. So, and that's mainly what we focus our interviews in. When you bring in a portfolio, we ask questions like, not only tell me about this game, but why did you choose to implement the system in the way that you did? Why not some other options? Did you weigh up different options in choosing the particular implementation that you ended up going with? There is no right or wrong in that sense. It's mostly, can you explain your decision making in order for the interviewer to understand, basically how you would approach technical problems and see them through to fruition.
Any last questions? If not, I'm sure you can always talk to her like right after this, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anyways, round one.
Thank you very much. And I was going to trip on that cable.
Yeah, we have a bit of a gift for you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Wow.
I'll post all these links on our Discord. So, like I said, just join our Discord. It's on Linktree, or if you scan the QR code. Anyways, so that pretty much ends the night. I just have a few more quick things to say. First of all, thank you all so much for coming to this, and thank you, Ludmila, for showing up. Very glad to have you here. And tomorrow, actually, we're doing a VR industry night. So VR Club is doing an industry night, bringing together a few more industry experts, the people who have made projects, so on and so forth. And we're actually collaborating with them. So I'll be giving a little talk about our club again there, but if you want to learn more about these clubs or attend that industry night, feel free to come tomorrow. It is, where is it?
It's at the General Library. So it's 109-B15. They start at 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So if you're interested in the VR industry, definitely come along.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty cool event, and I think I know some of the speakers there, so it's gonna be really great. So come along to that. So yeah, that is tomorrow at 6 to 8 at 109B15. And finally, thank you all for coming. Scan the left or the right for membership if you haven't already paid, and all of our links are there. And thank you all for coming. Yeah.